Good afternoon, Melanie. We finally got there in the end.
Good afternoon, Paul. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Yeah, you come highly recommended by Cath Berry.
Oh, well, yeah, the Berries.
Yeah.
Fabulous family. Love them.
How did you get to meet?
Well, actually, it was back in the 80s when I was at Loretto College. And he was, I remember he was an apprentice, I think he was an apprentice at Damon and Jason. And everyone was getting probably free haircuts because he was practicing on everyone. So I remember going and having my haircut. Then one evening after school, after college, sorry, I wasn't that young. And then he said to me after I said, "Oh, we're going for a drink in Corbiers afterwards," which was great. And so I went along. I think I was probably not even 18 at the time. I was definitely underage. And we went down Half Moon Street. I was really excited because I hadn't really been out in town much. And we went down into Corbiers. I remember just hearing the buses and the hustle and bustle of Half Moon Street and Cross Street, and then going down these stairs thinking, where we're going, it's so exciting. It was like going into a cave.
Yeah.
I'd never been in there before. So we went down the stairs and I heard the music coming. I think, oh, the music's so cool. I can't remember what it was, but it could have been, I don't know, it could have been like orange juice or something like that. I don't know. It's way far back. Then I remember seeing a pinball machine going, this is cool. And
I forgot about that.
I know.
Yeah.
And then it was just like the best place ever. I thought, this is really great. And then that's the first time I went in. But then I started to go in later on, a bit soon after. I started to go in with some friends. I started to go in with Lee, my husband, who's no longer with us.
Yeah.
We used to go in there a lot as friends. And then we started going in there a lot when we were started to be more than friends. We started to go in. And that was always our place. We all met if we were going out to clubs and stuff like that. And I remember just going up to the bar and saying to this girl, because I didn't know her name, but I remember saying to Lee, God, she's so attractive, that barmaid, and she's beautiful. She had all red hair. And now she's a good friend. Her name's Anna, and we're still friends. And I remember saying to her, is there any jobs going here? And she said, just wait a minute, just one sec. And then she went off and Dave Redmond came back and said, when can you start? So I went, oh, shit, I've never worked in a bar before. I just like blagged it.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's how it started. I got in there working. It was great. Absolutely the best job I ever had. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And, so many good nights in there. And I just can't imagine ever having a job like that again. I think I was spoiled. My first job.
I used to think the Corbiers staff was so cool.
We were dead cool.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to work there, because it was cool. I thought, this is cool. I mean, having that taste of with Andy Berry, who was cool. He is cool. He still is cool. And and taking me down to this place, it was like, this is really nice. Whoa, this is another world. I wasn't shy of bars. I wasn't going. I mean, I grew up in a very sociable family environment. We had a bar in our house. My dad had a bar, and I was making cocktails when I was 14. I wasn't shy around that kind of thing. But going into that environment was very different than going into like a Cheshire bar.
Yeah.
It was a very different kind of environment. Manchester City Centre was just raw, and it was just really cool. And when I worked there, I had the best time ever. I really did. It was always. I never woke up thinking, go to work.
Yeah.
Did
you get on the guest list everywhere?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Didn't have to pay for anything. Got in the Hacienda, did double shifts. Don't know how I did it. Because obviously when Jeff left, there was Jeff the chef. Something happened, and anyway, he wasn't the chef anymore. And Dave said, "Oh, I've got a chef now." And I went, "Hey, chef, I'll do it." And I went. He went, serious? I went, yeah, I'll step in. And I stepped in, and that was it then. I was doing the lunch times, which I preferred, because then it was helping me not to have to work so many nights. So then I started doing the lunch shifts. And I mean, I couldn't step into his persona because he was so popular. And, I think a lot of people missed him. But, I just thought, I don't mind. I'll do this. This is cool. And I stepped in. Yeah, it was fun.
Do you know what I think young people won't experience or appreciate was that now you've got the whole Northern Quarter, haven't you? And Nick said this in his video, but if you were into alternative music or you wanted a different type of scene, there was only Corbiers and then the Peveril of the Peak. and maybe the City Road Inn, but there wasn't. Now you've got a whole Northern Quarter, haven't
Yeah,
you? And
yeah.
you've got, but
There were scattered places really then, and
Yeah.
there was I mean, King Street had back in early 80s, I think it was it Bernard's Bar, and clubs that I can't remember, you know, the names of, to be honest.
Yeah.
There were a lot of gay bars which we used to like going to, because there were Lee, my husband, like he at the time, you know, he hung out with a lot of laddie lads, you know, and I think he just liked the idea of just going somewhere where there was going to be no aggro.
Yeah.
So we used to go out a lot together. We went in the Manhattan as well, which was just off Albert Square. That was a great club, but it was also open during the day.
Where
It
was
was a
that?
gay bar. It was round the back of I can't think. Chroma was there, but that's closed down. So it was around that area.
Yeah.
Around the back there in those streets. I can't remember exactly. Again, it was a gay club, gay bar, so you weren't allowed in, and they only let people in who. It wasn't saying you weren't allowed in if you weren't gay. They only let couples in because they didn't want any laddie lads in causing trouble. It was a nice, relaxed environment.
Yeah.
So we used to go out to places like that because we knew we'd get in, you know, and you know, it was just. You knew that you could tell the bouncers would see like a gang of 4 lads and they'd be like, you know, But it was strict then, you know. You just don't want any trouble, you know. I didn't blame them, to be honest.
Do you know with Corbiers, I've never been in a bar with as many mad characters.
Yeah,
I should never
try working in one. There's some mad characters in there. It's such a diverse amount of personalities and kind of people, especially when you're working there from 10 o'clock in the morning when you're starting to set up for the lunches, and then you're working there the afternoons, and you're working there the early evenings, and you're working there late evenings. You're working the Saturday lads and Saturday girls come in, and the Saturday crew, they come in with their shopping bags, and they come in for after the football, and all different kinds of people. And then a lot of businessmen came in for lunch. There was a few business types who used to come in. Some guys finished their shifts, like they'd been working in the morning, and they'd come for a pint at the end of the day. So it was a mixture. And then later on in the day, it would start to be the different kinds of people would come in. You know, we say like the trendy people would come in, or the office party crews. Like, it was just really open, because you know there's no discrimination in that place at all. It was, everybody was just there. It was great.
Do you know, I remember once me and my mate were at college, and then we had a really mad weekend, and we were like, fuck it, I don't want to go in. So we both chucked in a sickie at college, and we went in Corbiers Monday afternoon. And then
that's a good time to go, because it wouldn't have been dead busy as well. You'd have had the place to yourself.
Yeah. And then a lad we knew, Eddie, he came in, and he'd had a bad weekend, and he'd rang in sick at work. And then it might have been Joanne, she came in, and then someone else came in, and they chucked in a sickie at work. And then the next thing, we're on all day.
All that. I know. That's what kind of place it was, isn't it? You know.
Yeah.
And it's one of those places as well in them days, like if you're on your own, like I used to go out on my own a lot, because Lee, he used to work shifts, so he worked at the cinema, so he'd finish really late. So if I was going out, I'd go out early. It was the kind of place you could go by yourself. I mean, there was different for me because I knew people, but a lot of places like that, you know, it was nice, you know, when you could just walk in and think it doesn't matter, you'd be on your own, lone female, you know, to be by yourself in a bar. That was all right. That was cool. You know, that was comfortable in there. But yeah, there's some crazy. I mean, it was. There's not many. It's very corporate these days, bar work. I mean, it was very laid back. I mean, we all had a drink behind the bar. You know, everybody had a drink. You had a glass of Coke with a straw in and a double vodka in, and you think everyone just think it's a Coke, but we knew it wasn't.
Yeah.
You know, I remember getting pretty drunk sometimes on you know, when I was working, thinking, I don't know how I'm getting away with this. You know, I remember coming out with a big tray of glasses from the glass washing machine, and just being so drunk that I wobbled and the whole glasses went up in the air. I went arse down onto the side. Dave just stood there laughing at me. He was the manager. He just went like he's laughing his head off, and then of course you heard the usual. You know, I just sat there on the floor with all these broken glasses. Everyone's just laughing at me. You know, it was like, but you know, it was fun. I mean, I only did that once. You know, so, but yeah.
You worked at the dry bar as well, didn't you?
Yeah, actually, the dry bar was when I worked at Corbiers. I knew Maria, my friend who I worked there with, she put me on to a job going at the dry bar. It wasn't built yet, it wasn't ready, it wasn't open. And I went via Corbiers. They came in, and the chef and the person who was, setting up the bar at the time, they came in to sample my food, and because I did cook everything, I made all the food to see if it was all right, and they said it was, and I got the job. Yeah, I went and started there.
When was that?
That would have been 1989 when it opened.
Oh, right.
I was there. I was the first member of staff. Yeah.
What was you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the first crew, the first...
Yeah.
We hadn't opened yet.
Yeah.
So we were opening the first lot, we were all together. This is the first crew that opened it up.
When I did the video with Leroy, he said it was the first... We both agreed that it's probably the first designer bar in the country.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There was nothing else like it.
Yeah.
I mean, the inside of the bar was actually just it was so well designed. I mean, and the colours as well. The colours they used on the wall. There was colours on there that you would never usually use. Like putting green and pinks together and things like that. It was really well done.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Long, huge bar and all the best equipment. Loads of space down in the basement. There was loads of space for all the fridges and freezers and beers and different drinks, and and I remember actually washing the fridges. We had to clean the fridges before we could put anything in them. and somebody said that, yeah, you use vodka. So that's my drink, vodka, and I'm like washing a fridge with vodka.
Seriously?
I was nearly crying. I was like, you can't just do this. Apparently they're wiping the fridges down with vodka, and I'm thinking, is somebody joking me here? Is this really happening? It's like wiping the fridges with vodka apparently cleans them and gets them ready for you to put everything in, and I'm thinking, this is really weird. I mean, I hope that's true, and I didn't dream it, because it was a mishmash in them days. All kinds of things were.
Everyone would be googling.
They'll all be there now, wondering what's googling vodka cleaning your fridge. But I remember thinking, we're not going to clean the whole fridges surely with vodka, because it's to drink.
Yeah. I've never not heard that before.
No, I hadn't. It was very weird. and not, in a bit of a waste, as well.
Yeah. Criminal, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
You said you were a little bit older than the other staff when you worked there, weren't you?
Yeah. To be honest, I was at Corbiers. I was like, I was in my 20s when I worked at Corbiers, and everyone else seemed to be like 18 up. They were like 18, 19, 20. I was one of the oldies, really, at the time. And I was like 24, 25, 26.
Yeah.
Still young now, thinking back. But, compared to the other kids, they were all pretty young, So, yeah, I did feel a bit older. Same at the dry bar, because, again, there was a lot of students as well. So they were all doing the shifts.
People look up to you then?
I don't know. I was pissed out of my head most of the time. They probably
so you could get pissed at the dry bar? Yeah.
I don't know, because I didn't work at the dry bar behind the bar. I used to just drink in there. Yeah. I didn't really. I was working days there, so I was working all the lunch times.
Yeah.
So, but we used to finish our lunchtime shift, go to the gym for a swim and a bit of a workout, get dressed up and go back to the dry bar and pints of Murphy's. Yeah. That was the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Yeah.
Cath said you're really into music. When did you get into...
Oh, music was something that Lee was just... He was in a band in the 80s that...
What was a band?
They were called the Black and White Lovers, and
yeah.
They did a few gigs, but they didn't really... They all split up and they didn't carry on. The original band was called The Enigma, and they were very influenced by... I mean, they loved The Fall and all those Manchester bands. I often think, would I ever heard of all these bands if I hadn't known Lee? Because The Fall were like the first band I ever heard where it just blew my mind. I thought, I'd never heard anything like this before.
Yeah.
Jesus, what's this? It was like, I've never ever heard anything like this before. It's amazing. Yeah. And all the other bands, of course, came with that, and Joy Division, and we've still got loads of singles that I won't part with.
Have you kept them?
Yeah. Do
you know, I went in vinyl exchanges today, and I haven't been in a record shop for years, And I was looking at the prices. They call it vinyl now, don't they?
Yeah.
And I was looking, and there was some records. There was a My Bloody Valentine 12-inch or EP, and
I've got
that's
a My
50
Bloody Valentine. I think I've got an EP of that. I think I've still got it.
glider, 50 quid. It's worth.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I've got Subway Sect. I've got a couple of singles from there. Lee was really into punk as well. But we sold a lot of them. I don't know why. Or do you know the other thing is as well? A lot of them weren't sold. We used to play them a lot because you didn't. We had a lot of parties when we were first together in the 80s. So we had a lot of like. We did DJ sessions with them, like joking around. So they all got knackered. You know, they're not all in good condition. And then we do this party, and then you wake up the next morning, and there was probably 50 records there, and then there was like 30. You know, people just, sneaked off with it. I think we lost a lot via that. Just for being so open and free and not really caring and looking after them properly. But I think a lot of people just thought, oh, I'll have this, and they took it. We say that when we go next session, we say, why is that one missing? It must have been that party again. Somebody's probably took it home. But anyway,
Do you know, I think that there's an interest in, it's always the Manchester era that gets talked about. But I think there's a real interest in like the 80s. And I think Gino's video is doing well at the moment, and that's talking about Berlin. But I'm just thinking and listening to you talk about The Fall and your old records. Be interesting to like post them and see what attention it gets, because I did a video with Tiger, and he was like a big face in the gay village and the Paradise and Mantos, and then I asked him to send me a picture. So he sent me one, and it was him sat on a bus in 1979 with a punk friend, and one of them was drinking vodka.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, why didn't he send me one of him looking cool in the village? So I thought, well, I'll trust his judgment. So I put it on my TikTok, and I think like 17,000 people have looked at it.
Yeah.
So I think
that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm really annoyed that I didn't take more photographs. I messaged my friend that I used to work in Corbiers with a couple of nights ago to say, you always were taking photographs. Have you got anything from Corbiers? I have got one and I can't find it. There's one of me and Lee drinking in Corbiers, and it's a really nice photograph, but I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
I've got one of us at the Hacienda. I've got a few of us doing out and about at that around that time. But it's not like anyone had cameras in them days, and they didn't bother. And it's a shame really, because I wish I had more. I wish I'd taken some pictures. I wish I'd taken more photographs. But memories are in my head. They're there, fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice to have more photographs.
What did you go to at Hacienda? Was it more the indie?
Well, to be honest, we really got into hip hop, and I really loved that at the Hacienda. The hip hop, Public Enemy and things like that. I used to really enjoy that. We got really into soul music as well, and I like all that scene. The soul scene, and the indie stuff really was down to the Ritz, Monday night Ritz, pounding.
Yeah.
Free. I think you got bills for 50p or something. I don't know. I can't remember. Or you got a free bottle of pills. Something. I can't remember.
You might be right.
Yeah, in the 80s that was a Monday night, and we used to go to the Ritz because that was more indie music.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of good gigs there, like Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds before, they were,
Did they play them?
Yeah, they did. I met Nick Cave on it was outside a cash machine where outside the Ritz there was a cash machine. He was getting some money up near there, and I went, that's Nick, he's there, and I went over to him, and he signed his autograph on my bus ticket, and we
kept it.
Well, we kept the bus ticket for ages. Tell you what we did with that bus ticket. We went home, we pinned it on the wall as like a shrine, like there's Nick, hail Nick, hail Nick.
Yeah.
And the next morning we woke up and it had disappeared down the gas fire. So I think he got incinerated.
So he played there on the student on the Monday night. Nick Cave played.
No, that'd have been a gig night. Could have been a Friday or a Saturday. There was a few. James played there, and there's a few indie bands played there as well. Can't remember who else now. There's probably quite a few. Because it was a good cheap gig that. So
yeah.
Stereo will have a playing there in November. So
right.
Yeah. So I'll probably go and check that out. But yeah, it's a good venue.
I don't think it leaves you, does it? So I think, to be honest, I didn't enjoy my 30s because it was like, it felt like the end of my youth. and mates settled
same.
down.
Yeah. Well, I had a baby then.
Yeah.
You know, I had my first kid. I was 28, 29. I left the dry bar to be a mom. You know, went to do that, which was great. It was great. It was great. But yeah, the whole of that decade was we were all friends doing that, meeting at each other's houses, and you know, things like it stopped then. You know, going out.
Yeah.
To stop.
But I started like I want to go out more now.
Yeah.
But not like. I mean, I'm not drunk for 7 years, but I want to go to gigs more now.
Yeah, I'm like that. I went to some gigs last year, and I was really glad that I made the effort. And now this year, I've been looking ahead, thinking I might want to go see Flaming Lips. I think I'm going to see Stereolab. I'm thinking of all these, but I really prefer to go to some gigs where I don't know who these people are. You know, like you did then back in the day. It's like back in the 80s. You know, you went to see gigs. I remember going to the Ritz to see bands, and then the support band being amazing, and the actual main band thinking, oh, they were all right.
Yeah.
You know, or the you just would think that, wouldn't you? You know, what was the one called? The
International.
Yeah, the International. Yeah.
That was a brilliant venue.
That was fantastic. And I remember seeing going to see some famous band there. I can't remember who it was now, because King of the Slums were playing as a support band, and we came away thinking they were dead good, weren't they? They were better than the support band, than the actual band. So that was good. Doing the International's great though. I mean, I saw the Violent Femmes at the International, and
how did you see them?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I saw the Violent Femmes, and it was the best gig I've ever been to be fair, because it was so exciting. And they did about 5 encores. Nobody had let them go.
Yeah.
And the ceiling in the International is quite low. So I remember I was standing on a stool and banging on the ceiling. Everyone was for the encore, bang, 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 more. And then when I got home and I looked at my knuckles, they were bleeding. And I couldn't feel a thing, you know, because the adrenaline was so, you know, intense. I just couldn't feel a thing. And then I remember the next morning going, really sore knuckles.
Yeah.
You know, like banging on the ceiling. They were really good.
Yeah, but that was amazing.
Yeah.
My first ever indie band was I worked in a bank in town, so I got my workmates into house music, and they got me into indie. And then I was actually a schoolmate, but he took me down to the International. I saw the Sun and the Moon, and Eskimos in Egypt supported them.
Wow.
And I thought Esco in Egypt were amazing, but Sun and the Moon were absolutely stunning.
It's great when you hit on something like that. You know, when you go out and you think you're looking forward to the gig, and then, you know, but then the other thing is, like this last year I went to see the Go Team in Manchester, and I was so excited about seeing them. The support band came on first, and I don't know what they were called. I don't know who they were, and they had a good lots of people were cheering them on, and I was just there going, I just want the main band to come on, you know. I felt really bad thinking that, but you know, then, you know, support bands really, you know, deserve that as well. You know, they've got to start up, haven't they, and get going. But I just wanted the main band to come on, and I was getting really bored. But you know,
did you ever go to see Public Enemy?
No.
I saw them at the Apollo.
Wow, yeah,
that was good,
because that's a show, isn't it? That's really good. No, I never saw them. I did funny that we did remember the GMEX? We did back in the 90s. We did New Order, Happy Mondays. They did a big gig there.
Yeah.
And they got let down with the catering. And then Leroy asked us, me and my colleague Paul, who at the time we were both managing the dry bar, and the dry bar, the cafe area, the food. We weren't managing the dry bar, but anyway, we were doing that. And he said to us, "They've been let down with the catering. Can you do it?" And we both went, "Yeah, of course we can." Like, this was a big gig for us, and we'd never done anything like this before. And we'd both got these bum bags on, you know, the bum bags in them days, full of money to go and buy all the stuff.
Yeah.
Never had so much money on me ever in my life. And we were like going to buy all the stuff and then do it all. And we stayed up. We did it. We had to stay up for 48 hours because we were so busy, because we were doing everything, and we were trying to organise staff, and we didn't really know what we were doing, so we were doing it all ourselves. And I remember being sat in this coffee part of the GMEX one night, and these two guys came up to us, and we were giggling and laughing and hysterical, you know, falling all over the place, and we were really hyper, we were full of beans, and they just went, "What are you two on?" And I went, "Nothing." And she went, you're on summer. What have you had? What have you had? You can't be like this. You've been up for 2 days. I said, just adrenaline.
Yeah.
Just adrenaline.
Yeah.
You know, and it was funny because it was like really typical. I think it was just adrenaline.
Because not everyone just assumes everyone was dropping E's every night, weren't they? In the 80s. But not everyone did, did they?
Not everyone did. I didn't, but, you know, I like vodka.
Yeah. And you could go out every day of the week, couldn't you, in Manchester then?
Yeah, there was something going on. There were nights all over the place, weren't there? There was like Wednesday night, Thursday night, Tuesday night. You took it, there's lots of different things all the time. You were never bored.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, because I had periods where I couldn't hold down jobs. So I kept having temp jobs. And then it's like when they finished, sometimes I'd last a month and then they finished me on the Friday and then I'd just go, like, great, I can go on the piss again now.
Yeah, it was. It was more... And of course, if you knew the right people, you got freebies and you got in places.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't afford to go out now. You know, I don't know how they do it. It's so expensive.
It's gone insane now.
It's just so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 2 daughters, young daughters, and they can't afford to go out.
Yeah.
It's just too expensive. Everything is.
Yeah, I can't get my head around that. It's like if you're a student now, it's like, how do you go out?
Yeah.
Because even like, there was always places that was like £1 a pint, wasn't there? And I bet that doesn't happen
No, I mean, especially when you did gigs and things like that. It was like, I think I've got a poster of one of these nights, and I think it was 70 pence a shot for vodka.
Yeah.
I mean, 70 pence a shot,
Yeah.
It's like, that is just brilliant. But I don't know what that would be in money these days, but I suppose it'd be nice if it was probably a couple of quid, But you don't really see any of that, everything's so expensive.
Yeah. Was do you know when you're in the dry bar? I was just thinking then you were working with who? Did you know Lauren Garnier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know him very well because he's a DJ now. He's done really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was a character, Lauren. Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. 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 I mean, he was very popular.
Yeah.
He seemed to enjoy his life. He had a good time. He was DJing, and he was kind of in charge of the food side. So he was the one that was managing all the food side, and we were just me and Paul were managing the actual running of the restaurant area and the staff and things like that. But he was actually in charge overall because he was an ex-chef himself, so he was into the cooking thing. But he was also big as he is now. He's still a DJ. He's doing really well.
Yeah, he's like international.
Yeah, he is international. Yeah. But yeah,
people got really famous, really, really famous, didn't they?
They did
from them days.
Yeah, I mean, he had a big personality, and but he had a lot of charisma. So I can see why, people, would want him, to be a DJ and stuff, because he was really into it. He was passionate about it.
Yeah,
still is. So yeah.
Are you in touch with him or?
Not really. I followed him on Facebook for a while, but I've not seen anything much for a little while. And I know he's still DJing and things like that, but I'm not in touch with him, messaging or anything. No.
Do you know what I love with doing my videos is that people are watching them. This is getting fed back to me now, and then they watch it and go, "I need to get back in touch with them."
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
No, that is nice, because I've lost touch with loads of people. I don't know what they're doing now. I don't know where they are. I mean, a lot of people have moved on. They've had families. They've got they've got jobs and different high places, as well, that maybe they don't want to remember too much about the past. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I embrace it now. I'm glad I was part of it. I'm glad I'm here to tell the tale, because I know sadly a lot of people aren't. So
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's nice, to be able to remember it as such a fun time. I'm thankful I had that time. It
feels like as well that this is the right time for me to do these videos. Not being morbid or anything, because we're getting to an age, aren't we?
Yeah.
But it just feels like the right time where I know, like for me, like, because I'm not working and other people our age aren't working, that you can talk about drugs now.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I've worked in I've recently finished a job that was very institutionalized, and I feel a bit set free, that I can now talk about things that I did and where I was and what I was doing at that time, the environment I worked in, and just, you do get stifled by that, not being able to say stuff and, and things like that. It's not good. But the thing I like about that time is I was thinking of it with Jackie, the conversation I had with Jackie about the fun and everybody had and how many different people were involved in it and different class of people, different cultures, different everything. There was no hierarchy, which was what it was so good. You know,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
went out, everyone was just having fun.
Yeah.
And there was no jealousy, there was nobody thinking you were doing better than me, or no competition. Everybody was just out for the night.
Yeah.
And be walking in places, like working at Corbiers was brilliant because of all the freebies you got, you know. But just everywhere you went, it was hi, hi, hi,
Yeah.
hi. you know, like, Liam, my his boyfriend at the time, but you know, then came a husband. But then he'd go, oh God, Mel, hi, hi. He'd take the mickey out of me, going,
Yeah.
she's like, hi. I said, yeah, I know, but it's nice, you know, it's quite
Yeah.
funny.
Well, you could do that back then. Like I remember I was able to do that for probably for about 5 years, where I could go out on my own and I
Yeah,
could go in most
I went
bars
out
in
on my own
town.
loads.
Yeah, and
I
I
went out on
know.
my own loads of
Yeah,
times, you know, and it didn't. I mean, I don't mind doing that anyway. I've been to the pictures by myself when I was younger. I'm finding it harder now to do things.
yeah,
I've still not done that thing where I've not been in a restaurant yet by myself. I've been and had coffee and sat in a bar and had a coffee and watched an episode on Netflix that I was into, thinking, right, while I'm waiting for someone, I'll watch my episode and put my earphones on, I'll have a coffee. That was really relaxing, actually. I should do more of that. But
yeah.
I haven't actually gone in a restaurant or anything, and I've not been out in a bar. I've not been in a pub yet and stood and, you know, I don't know whether it's me or it's, you know, guys seem to be able to do it. You know, they just get the paper and get a pint and stand.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel still feel a bit self-conscious doing that.
Yeah, I suppose it's different when you're older, isn't it? I remember Elizabeth, I think she worked at Corbiers. I remember there's a few girls that I knew and they would go out on their own as well.
Yeah.
So I'd go in, and the great thing with Corbiers is you could do it any day of the week.
Yeah.
You could go in on a Wednesday afternoon, and I could go in on my own and be like, oh, there's Elizabeth, and then I'd end up on a session with
There'd
her.
always be somebody. I mean, I met people in there. If I was saying I was meeting for gigs or anything like that, I'd meet them in there.
Yeah.
Trying to think of anywhere else I used to go and meet people. I think Corbiers was easy because I'd worked there, or
Yeah.
I was working there, or before I worked there, I even felt comfortable meeting people in there, you know. But
Shambles Square.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't drink much in Shambles Square, to be honest. There was a place called Rosie's Bar I used to like. That was on Piccadilly.
Yeah, I used to go in there a lot.
I liked that bar.
Yeah.
That was one of my favourite places.
Yeah, it had the telephone box inside, didn't it?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. That was really nice.
Yeah.
And then there was another place called Piero's.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Do you remember that one? I think that was on Cross Street, wasn't it? Was it?
Um,
Yeah, it was, I think, Dan.
I've got a mental
Down
block
the
now.
back.
I remember the name.
It was buzzy around there in them days for clubs and places.
Yeah.
Now it's Northern Quarter.
Yeah.
But then Northern Quarter this didn't exist, did it? It was like nobody came here for a drink.
It was just like sex shops, wasn't it?
It was,
yeah.
It was like, wino bars and, you know, there was nothing really here. And that's when the Dry Bar came.
Yeah.
And Affleck's came and all these cool places started opening. That eventually it turned into a good place to come out.
So I think I've completely lost track of the time, and I know I say this at the end of every video, don't I? But I try and end them with, give me a track that takes you back to Corbiers.
A track?
Yeah.
A tune?
Yeah.
Well, do you know, I think it would have to be Marvin Gaye, What's Going On.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah. I
Because
forgot that was on.
That was the tune that I used to just put on when I was setting up in the morning. I'd pop that on, start rolling the knives and forks into the napkins and stuff like that. There was that, and then also Isaac Hayes' Walk On By.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that was on as well, yeah.
That's a tune.
Yeah.
And the first time I heard that, I thought, where have I been? Why have I not heard this before?
I'm going to play that on the bus going home.
Yeah, I know, it's really beautiful. Really, really beautiful.
Do you know what? I might do a Corbiers playlist on Spotify.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
There's loads. I mean, we put some songs on there ourselves, I think, but I know Dave used to get a bit pissed off because he'd say, oh, cut out the blue circle in the middle now. He didn't like doing that. And then I think we had a few singles ourselves that we just sort of gave and said, you know. I remember the music needing more around the 80s it got a bit it's the same stuff. And then I think Lee made Dave put Public Enemy on there. I don't think he wanted to, but I think Lee made it on.
Yeah.
So but yeah, it was nice.
Well, I'll just stop recording now.
Okay.
So here we go.